Hey guys, it's Andrew with AKVB Bricks here, and as I teased in my short form video, we have the EC Henry adapted version of the ATPT right here in all of its glory. So let's get into it. So just zooming in a little bit, I did add some lighting. It wouldn't be an AKVB Bricks build at this point without at least one light. I just thought it was a lot more menacing for the scene that I will be showing shortly. So honestly, the biggest struggle to start, like literally any small walker design, is usually the feet. How do I make it look accurate to the source material that I'm using while also being stable? And I think I've achieved a pretty solid balance of detail and stability. So we'll go from the feet up. Basically, it's got a lot of slopes going on here, but I liked using this little clip just to get that, like that little end, like a toe almost. Then some of the curved slopes to try and round it out, but I didn't want to detract from the structural elements that you need to have like a solid foundation for anything with weight on such a spindly leg here. It isn't that complex so much as it is convoluted for a very simple foot design. Like you could probably do something a little easier with like a brick built, like using the 1x4 with the studs on all sides and some slopes. But if I wanted to squeeze every ounce of detail that I could out of this little walker, so here we are. Now moving up, it's just a simple one of the hinges, the newer hinges, obviously. That's kind of bearing a lot of weight for what it is. But you continue up, you got this slope here and this bar piece here, and that's just kind of referencing the leg design, but it also, I wouldn't really consider this legal or illegal. It does go in here. It's not really putting lots of pressure or strain on it, on the central little hole here, but some people might call it illegal, and well, if you keep worrying about that, then that's kind of the enemy of creativity. Honestly, just go for it. It's your stuff. If you break it, it's yours. Who cares? But I really wanted it to not just be another rigid little walker. Like, there's a reason that the walk, like the ATST, is so terrifying, and part of it is the size and firepower, of course, but the other part of it is honestly it looks menacing because it looks alive, right? So you've got the current Lego walkers that, like, they're really rigid in terms of like how the legs are splayed out, but I've got ball joints. I'll bring it closer. So right here, you'll see that ball joint. And there's even a little bit of play with like a front and back motion here. And we can get into that in a second as well. But because it can actually have that splayed legs, you know, it does look a little bit creepier as it's coming at you. Obviously, these are single person transports, which will lift. Hopefully, come on. Oh, there we go. So I put, excuse me, structural maintenance. Sorry, Imperial budget cuts. So
3 hours later.
Can you move it along? I'm all out of time cards.
So it does fit a single. I have an ATST style pilot in there, but in order to really like fully take it out, you have to just wiggle off. It's a pretty simplistic, just roof panel here. It's really attached only at 2 points in the rear, so it can be easily taken off. And to achieve just this angle alone, I've got some clips on hinges in there, and it's such a tiny little angle that normally, like, you could make this a square box and it would still kind of look like an ATPT, but in order to achieve the exact look, it I just had to do it this way. And I think it looks really good compared to the EC Henry render, which I'll put on screen now, so you can take a look. But also, I had even tried. I toyed with the idea of trying to make these hatches open, but it would just get so bulky, and it wouldn't even be close to minifigure scale anymore. Like, maybe I'll try and do an upscaled version, but I wanted to get this one out because and use it in MOCs and stuff, not just have like a UCS display version. And I do have a trans red brick here, and that's just to like continue to emphasize this red light. Like, that is the cockpit has red light in it, but it also just looks. Now you're at more of a height of a minifigure. You could see how this might be a little bit frightening. Just to have this little hunchback of a walker chasing you down to any poorly defended positions, you know. But now we can get kind of a closer look at the side view. There's like some grates or something on the rear of the EC Henry version I just wanted to replicate. I do like to throw in, I've got this piece here and this here, like sand blue elements into most of my Imperial builds at this point, just because it really it kind of fits. I mean, remember back in the day, all the TIE fighters had blue tiles on them. You know, just for this kind of a reference. It's the sand blue fits more into gray than it does into blue, so it really just helps tie it all together. Still gives it that industrial metal vibe that I wanted to go for. So then spinning it around, you can see all the gobbledygook of wires back here, but this is where I've got like all the greebling. So just this printed tile, like you could replace it with whatever you want, realistically, but I really liked it for the exhaust, and then just having a little bit more of like an engine element almost. But then of course we've got the little antenna up here, just for communication purposes. Not that these guys are really going to be charging out and needing. They're usually the reinforcements. They're not being reinforced. But it is a patrol transport, so you never know. But yeah, build like this, I think it deserves a display, and I think you all would agree. So just give me one moment and we'll get that set up, okay?
2,000 years later.
All right, and now that we've got the little mock set up, I've dimmed the lights, the sun has set on Ryloth, and we've got an ATPT bearing down on a small insurgent position. You've got this rebel trooper here. He is rightfully terrified. Got that screaming face. And I did my best to try and capture the ATPT in motion. I do have like a shallow ditch or crater from the initial footprint. We've got the foot lifted up, but obviously anyone who's played some of the older Rogue Squadron games knows that these walkers really are strange in terms of how the legs articulate, and I did want to capture that. They are kind of a hunchback little rinky-dink walker, but obviously this is the what I'll call upgraded version, and EC Henry did in kind as well. Just because the Legends version, although I don't know if it's still canon, so I guess I'll have to look that up. With the twin blasters, and it had like hazard stripes on it, it is supposed to be an older walker design. Initially, when it was introduced, it was actually supposed to just be a new Imperial design, and then canon changed. It always happens. Whatever. Who cares? This looks cool, and that's why I made it, and that's why I make these videos, so that you see something that's cool, and maybe you go out and make something even cooler. That's the whole point of this. So, like, definitely follow me on Instagram. I want to see some of your builds. If you do end up using any of my vehicle designs or anything you saw in a video, I'd love to see it. I'm not sitting here begging for credit. I just genuinely want to see what you do. But moving on to the build here, we'll start here. So I just wanted to build a very simplistic like barricade. I've got a little crate, and I was going for one of those small. They look like camping lanterns, but in Star Wars they're so much more important. So I wanted one of those. Another crate over there because again, it's Star Wars. You can't have Star Wars without crates everywhere for no reason. I think the Star Wars universe just has a supreme lack of warehouse management. Not sure what's going on there. We got one of the this is area light custom headpieces, so that's why she looks very calm in an impending demise. Just because there's not many Twi'lek face and head parts that I can get easily, and when you get the one piece head, there's not very many expressions that are put on them. I suppose I could get a blank one in decal. I just really don't feel like decaling at the moment. Maybe after the Lego Studio is officially completed, then we'll consider that. So moving upwards, we'll go over to left. I did kind of take some artistic liberty. I know Ryloth is pretty barren, but there are pockets of vegetation, and I probably went a little bit more overboard on that. But I don't care. Looks like a cute little tree, so wanted to do that. But I always also include an animal in my builds somewhere. If it makes sense to do so, I try to sneak one in. So we've got a little bluebird on the tree there. I really wanted to incorporate some, like, we've got some tan, some dark tan, brown. There's even some of the dark orange stem pieces, just to give it still that arid vibe, but also say there's pockets of lush landscape available on the planet as well. As of recently, though, my go-to for it's not quite a plant, but it could be, is the little 1x1 clip pieces in sand green. I love just sprinkling those around the perimeter of like heavy vegetation, sometimes in little pockets, just to give that very short grass look, because the Lego plant pieces are great. They're amazing. The problem is when you compare them to a minifigure, you're talking about like almost knee-high grasses, and we've existed on a planet with grass for a very long time. We know that there's more than just knee-high grasses. You got to have some variation, and it's one of those little techniques that helps Lego appear less like Lego and a little bit more lifelike, just to try and mimic our reality. But as for just the rest of the build, I went for obviously dark tan. That's the primary, but pockets of medium nougat. In other builds that I've done with a Ryloth as of recently, I have started adding regular nougat. Not as prominently as the medium, but just to help give it a little bit more of the clay look in the sands in that barren, sometimes mountainous desert planet. Dark orange is another good idea, just if anyone's considering building more Ryloth out there. That's just my 2 cents. I don't really know if they're canon per se, but I did a big like Ryloth themed modular build series that I included a lot of these rock structures in, so I just wanted to tie it together and I added one here. But I think also that really helps to sell the overall, like, the fear of this walker, because it's not a tiny threat to the average person. This is a vehicle. It is a formidable opponent against infantry. So I wanted to sell that by having the rock structure and the tree in the build to show you that this is still a decently sized vehicle that could ruin your day. The searchlight, I will say, that is my own addition, and I love it. I took some beautiful like night shots of this, and it just really, really helped sell the emotion of the scene. But yeah, just let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I will be trying to get more content out in the future. We are in the midst of a move, so I wouldn't expect much in terms of YouTube content until probably June. That's maybe sooner. It just depends how everything goes, but I will have a video trying to document some of the fun and the hassles of moving with Lego. So, without further ado, let's go with the outro here, and we'll see you on the next one.